Muy bien, 5 y empezamos.
Hello, buenas tardes, good afternoon everyone. Thank you for joining us in this seminar for today, Thursday, the 8th of October. As you may have seen, we are going to talk today about relocation in Spain. Relocation, which at the end, we focused on different subjects or different issues in order to move into Spain, which most of the services are made by legal services and some other ones not. But we would like to focus on those services in order to relocate in Spain. We are going to talk today about immigration issues. We are going to talk about buying a property or renting a property. We will talk about taxes, important before you move to Spain. Once you become resident, it will be attracted. The obligations to declare taxes in Spain, which is important to prevent and to study what will be the taxes you will pay in the future whenever you move to Spain. So those 3 pillars, buying or renting a property, immigration issues about how to get residency if you are EU resident, EU citizen or non-EU citizen, and also about taxes. For that, we have a special guest. Today is joining us, a special guest. She's been joining us in some of the seminars before. It's well-known from us, is Mary Arrow. Good afternoon, Mary.
Hello, good afternoon.
Well, Mary, she had a big experience in Spain. She runs a business, a real estate agency, Mia Boutique Property, and she's been working in Spain for 10 years. She knows perfectly about expats to move into Spain from all around the world into Spain, and of course knows perfectly what are the needs of international clients to move into Spain. Could you, Mary, give us a brief introduction about your company, what you do, please?
Yes, my name is Mary Arrow, as you said. I used to live in the UK before I came to Spain, so I'm also an expat in this community. We came here for 1 year, fell in love with the place, and I've been here living for 10 years. I realized that my knowledge could be of a lot of use for other expats coming into this country. And that's how we started this business, Mia Property Boutique, that mainly is about more than selling houses, helping the community, selling a service, and, you know, just making a better place for everybody to live.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mary. We have also a special guest. Mostly of you know him because he's been joining us many times. He's Davies, Michael Davies from Davies Solicitor. He's a very reputable lawyer in the south of Spain, in Andalusia. He's experienced well, many years, specialized on property, specialized on inheritance, on wills, and he's an ex-honorary consul from the United Kingdom. Good afternoon, Michael. I cannot listen to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Pedro. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Davies. The firm is Davies Abogados, Solicitors and Barristers, and we operate here in Andalusia. Okay.
Well, thank you, Michael. As we said, we're going to speak about relocation in Spain, buying or renting a property, immigration and taxes. Let's start with one of the questions that I assume has been very well given or done by one of the clients, one of the petitions has been made in the web, and it's been made by a Belgian citizen. I will say the name is Bridget. Thank you, Bridget, for making this question. And also we will link this into the relocation. What she says, she has already sold the property in Belgium, is looking to move into Spain, but at this moment, she doesn't know where to buy a property or maybe just to rent. What she asks is, should I go to the inland or to the coast, or which area of part in Spain? Of course, Mary and myself, we are based in the Costa Blanca. Michael is in Costa del Sol. And also she says, what about the money, to transfer the money into Spain, to do it in a small transference or in a big one, because it looks like that she says that the banks in Spain charge a lot of fees. And well, this is some queries that this lady has. So Mary, what do you think about it is better to buy a property? It is better to rent a property once you move into Spain? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of clients like that, and I think that is why an estate agent needs to have a lot of knowledge of the community and need to know where she's coming from. And in this case, first of all, I will start by being very realistic with her and say, what is your budget? Okay, because once we know your budget, then we will find your area. Okay, some people is afraid that if they think they're going to give us a high budget, we are going to, you know, rip them off, sell them something very expensive. And it doesn't work like that. A good agent, what we do is we go with the client, we show them around the different areas, not just the houses. She needs to look at the neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. She needs to know what's going to do when you wake up in the morning. You know, are you going to, do you want neighbors? Do you want to be close to the bus stop? Do you want to be close to the coffee shops? You know, it's not just about the house. It's not just about the weather or the beach. When you have the beach close to you every day, you know, it's then what? So my advice for her will be to come here and connect with the area that she feels is better for her. And then the budget. Once she finds her area, then we can say, with your budget, this is what we can find in your area. You know, once she connects with a community, for example, a community that is actually doing very well at the moment is the community of Busot. And it's about only 9 kilometers from the coast. It's only like about 10 minutes driving. And the community has a very small village that is Spanish, a very Spanish town with Spanish costumes and parties and holidays, but it's very well connected. They have like two groups running activities. You know, the mayor even have joined these social media groups, and the neighbors, you know, communicate between themselves. They do activities. When they want to go on trips, they get together. They do it. So something like that. Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to be more closer to the city, because I mean, she says she's 55, she can still work if she wants to, you know. So then maybe she would like to be closer to the city. And then has she got children? Is she going to be receiving family? So that's what we will do. My advice is she finds a really good estate agent, because a lot of people come here on their own and they drive past the nice places and they don't know. You know, I tell them, you have missed this little spot. You have missed this little street that actually you would like. And when we actually drive them around, sometimes we end up driving many times, you know, La Costa Blanca, and they end up buying in Costa del Sol. They end up buying somewhere inland, or they stay where they want to, you know, near our territory. It doesn't matter. It's the risk that every estate agent takes. But this is what she has to do. She has to find an agent, get a really good knowledge of the local area. If she wants, if she's not sure about it, she can rent as well, okay? The only thing when renting, people wants to, oh, I want an apartment that has sea views, that have wooden floors. We have to be a bit realistic. The demand for properties is very high and the offer is low. So my advice is, if you are going to rent, don't focus too much on the property, focus on your location, because it's temporary. After 6 months, after 1 year, if you like it, then you can buy.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mary. I assume that is extremely important to choose, of course, the correct agent, and in order to take your advices, as you have say right now. Okay, Michael, as well as it is important to choose an independent agent, a correct agent, it is also extremely important whenever someone moves into Spain in order to buy or rent a property. It's also important to instruct an independent lawyer.
Absolutely, absolutely, Pedro. Basically, the moment you found the property and chosen and agreed on a price, that's the time to engage a lawyer in the area to keep you out of trouble. And basically, we always recommend people come to see us before they actually put down even the 3,000 or the normal €3,000 deposit. And in our case, I don't know how it works up in the Costa Blanca, but down here on the Costa del Sol, with the estate agents with whom we work on a sort of normal basis, that bring us clients every now and again, we sort of offer a half-hour, 1-hour consultation with their clients as they're driving through and looking around, just to go through all the basics of how things sort of work and what to expect. Sometimes people like to talk about inheritance tax as well, because it's not the same depending on the region of Spain. To go through the expenses of the purchase, which normally the estate agent has already sort of explained to them, but just to basically give them the comfort and put it in writing, perhaps, give them a guideline of expenses. That's the sort of thing we do here. We talk about the necessity of making Spanish wills after they've purchased their properties. I expect you do a similar thing up there in Costa Blanca, don't you? Probably initial consultation just to go through how everything works.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Michael. I mean, of course, in Costa Blanca, at the end is in order to prevent, in order to advise properly to the clients, of course, already before buying, before putting any money, it is advised in order to check everything properly. Let's go to focus on renting or buying a property. And in order to give from your different point of view, from an agent point of view, and of course from a lawyer point of view, let's try to make like a quick guide. What will you recommend in this case, for example, to rent? And then after that, what you will recommend before buying a property. Let's try to give a quick guide on that. And Mary, what do you recommend when someone wants to rent a property in Spain?
Well, we all. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you.
Okay, I was just going to say that we always think that the idea of renting a property in the area where you're looking at to purchase, if you've got the time and you can, we always recommend it's a good idea to maybe rent for a month or two, just to check out that you are going to be happy there. Sometimes people buy on a golf course and then they realize that they haven't got any shops nearby. And you think, well, if they had just rented for a couple of weeks, they would have realized these things.
Okay. And what about you, Mary? What do you recommend when someone wants to rent a property?
Depends if they want to rent and then eventually buy, then yes, like David said, come here for a couple of months, see what is around. Don't be fussy about the property, because even when they come to me for a couple of months, they ask for a lot of things. And again, there is not a lot of an offer. And if you find something really perfect and really nice, it's going to cost you. But something that we have found this year recently, we are getting a lot of families immigrating here, to rent here. And they have really good jobs, but they are not jobs that are based here in Spain. So we are finding a problem when the landlords don't want to rent to them if they cannot get an insurance, a mortgage, or a bank guarantee, okay? So my advice for these people, be prepared, come here a couple of months before you actually move in. Make sure you open a bank account here in Spain. Make sure you ask the bank if you can get a bank guarantee. Make sure you got the right documentation so you can show the landlord that you can actually afford to rent this place, that there is not going to be any problem. Get a solicitor to advise you the best way to do it. And then find the house that you want and then move here. Because for example, we had a client that came here from Singapore. She took 1 month to come here. So she came 1 month before, and she already paid a removal company to transfer all her stuff to Alicante. She thought 1 month was enough for her to find the property that she wanted. And she couldn't, because none of the landlords wanted to rent to her. And what happened with these removal companies, when the delivery day is due, the company that keeps the container with all the furniture, they charge between 400 and 700 euros per day. So it becomes very expensive if by the day you're supposed to move in, you haven't got a house. So my advice is, if you're going to do that, again, you can get in contact with a solicitor, get in contact with an agent, and do it with a lot of time in advance. I would say 3 months if you want to start, for example, on the 1st of September, something like that. You have to do it with time. You are ready and you are not in the position that you are here and you don't have a house, you don't have a school. Sometimes they don't even have a bank account. So, and they get very frustrated. So that would be my advice if people is coming for renting here.
Okay, thank you, Mary. And let's go through the buy the property, which is probably one of the most important moments when someone comes, because it's a big investment. It's a important decision whenever someone moves into Spain and wants to be based in Spain and to purchase, to invest in Spain, to buy a property, to consolidate, to bring the family. And it's an important decision. So for that reason, it is important to do it correctly and follow the steps that needs to be done. And Michael, what are the steps that needs to be done when someone wants to buy a property from your legal point of view? I mean, I know we are not going to have time to make like a very accurate explanation, but of course, just a quick guide, like a brief explanation on buying a property in Spain.
Okay, well, in our case, apart from that initial consultation that we mentioned that we do before they find a property, we always tell our clients to agree on the price completely before contacting us to avoid unnecessary expenses from our side. So the first step would be to give them a budget. Here in Andalusia, the taxes and fees will normally come to around 11-12% of the total purchase cost. In Andalusia, we have 8% transfer tax, which is the big one, which is 8% up to 400,000, 9% between 400 and 700, and 10% above that amount. That's the big one. Solicitors charge around 1% plus VAT. Many solicitors, including ourselves, have minimum fees on conveyancing. In our case, it's 2,200 plus VAT. But different solicitors have different amounts, but around the 1%. Notary fee, which is not very large, between 700 and 1,000 euro, and a property register fee of normally around 400 to 700 euro. Smaller expenses like the N.I.E numbers, they have to be done, and the power of attorney. And the way we do it is once they've agreed on the price, we organize a power of attorney, which they issue in our favor. With that, we open up the bank account, request the N.I.E numbers, and sign a 10% deposit contract. On that, we set the completion date. And then the completion normally happens without the client actually being here, so that when they arrive, we can just hand them the keys and they can move straight in. That's sort of it in a nutshell, at least the part that the client sees.
Okay. And how many time it could take from when you make a reservation or some fee on the agent, and then whenever it's complete? And what about the banks? What kind of if someone wants to apply for a loan, are the banks giving mortgages in order to buy properties or not, or to open a bank account?
Yes, at the moment, the banks, contrary to what happened in the credit crunch in 2008, because people think, oh, maybe there's another downfall coming in the property market. But something that's very different is that we find that the banks are still lending money without any problem whatsoever. To non-residents in general, it's around the 60% mark, 60% of the valuation, or 60% of the true value if it's less. And we don't normally we're not finding any problems with the loans. The opening of the bank accounts has become slightly more difficult nowadays than it was in the past in Spain, because normally, because of the money laundering compliance, you've got to provide normally P60s, a certain documentation to prove where the money is coming from, which we didn't have to do in the past. But it's in general quite straightforward. What was the other question, Pedro? What do you?
Well, about opening a bank account in Spain, I mean, it's been said also by Mary in order to advise to open a bank account, but that was a question. I mean, I think it's been
in our case, the powers of attorney, if the client decides before they go back to the UK that they want to buy the property, we sign the power of attorney locally. It's a 10-minute job, standard power of attorney for conveyance. And then they move back and we open the account for them, and we just ask them to send us by email their P60s and proof of income. And with that, we open the account. If they've already gone back to the UK before they've managed to tie a deal for the purchase, we just send them a double column power of attorney to the UK. They sign in front of a local notary, have the Hague's apostille affixed, and send it back. It's very, very easy. It takes 2 weeks. As far as completion, we normally ready to sign a deposit contract within, now as the first 4 or 5 days, as soon as we know who the estate agent, etc., we authorize the €3,000. And the 10% deposit normally takes a week or two to organize. And we always say that a standard sort of completion period will be anywhere between a month and 3 months. But you can do it as quick as 3 weeks if necessary. In Almeria, the N.I.E numbers that I know in some places in Spain now, the N.I.E numbers are holding up completions. But in Almeria, for example, they're taking 3 or 4 weeks, so they're not holding anything up. And in Malaga, very similar. So in general, from start to finish, you can have everything done within a couple of months.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Same question to Mary from a estate agent point of view. Of course, what will you recommend when someone wants to take this important decision to buy a property in Spain? What do you think they should ask, or what they should, what is required for them to look for?
When they, we get a case when people come here, before they actually come here, we already ask them, are you going to need a mortgage? Where is the mortgage coming from? Your country, Spain? And they get very enthusiastic. And I say, before we start looking at houses, I'm not saying that you are going to get a mortgage, but start writing to the banks. We put them in contact with 3 or 4 banks. So at least you know you can actually get a mortgage, what do you need, and what percentage are they going to give you. You can even open a bank account before you come here. So at least they know how much they can afford, okay? And then they know with their money where they can go and live. And that's when they start looking for houses. When they look for houses, and also in that way, also they are ready to pay for the reservation, and then go and see the solicitor. I mean, if they buy with us, we know that whatever property we are going to give them is the right property, and we as estate agents, we hold the 3,000 euros. So if something happened, we just return the money straight away, okay? But my recommendation is go to your solicitor, like Michael said, go to your solicitor before you sign up for anything, and consult with him before you pay any money to the estate agent or the owner. And then, you know, after that is the solicitor's job to check that the property is fine, that when are they going to complete. And with the estate agents, what we do, we just monitor everything, making sure, you know, the bank is working, making sure the surveyor is actually having access to the property, making sure also that the seller is ready to sell. Because many times the sellers are not ready to sell. They don't know when they're going to move. They don't know how fast the process is going to go. It has happened that the first time I show the property, I'm selling it, and they are not prepared, because it's an emotional thing as well. And also, like Michael said, make sure we agree on a price. And if possible, put it in writing, you know, before you go.
That's right. Perfect. Thank you, Mary. Let's go through some questions. We have plenty of questions. Let's go through, because the time is running. And it's from Bridgie. We already spoke about one of the questions that she made, that she wanted to sell a property in Belgium and move into Spain. But what she's asking is if in Spain the owners are open, if their house is for sale, that I could rent it for, let's say, 6 months. And if I like it, the area, then I buy it. If that is a possibility, or it is not done in Spain.
Shall I go? It is a possibility, but depends on the owner. If the owner lives in the property, he's not going to want to do that. He's not going to move out of his property for 6 months. So it depends really on the property, on the owner, depends on how fast the owner needs to sell. Depends also where is she renting, because some owner will say, I rent for you for 6 months, but I want a down payment before you actually pay. So it really depends on the owner.
Okay, thank you. And Michael, of course, there is a possibility legally. Someone wants to rent a property and have an option to buy that property in the contract. Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, technically, there's no difficulty. And then with the option, there'll be 2 different ways you can do the option contract. One is the option contract, which all the rental money is deducted from the purchase price if you end up purchasing, and the other one is where it's not deducted if you decide to purchase. Those are the 2 options. But I have to say that we find these situations in Spain are absolutely exceptional. In other words, we over the last 25 years. And maybe we've done 4,000 conveyances. We've done 2 or 3 situations that have evolved like this. We did, and I think there are probably all 3 of them were during the last credit crunch. And apart from that, it's not something that we see.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael. Let's introduce a video. Juan Fran, if we could introduce a video buying property, and then we will move on to a different issue. I'm not sure if Juan Fran is okay.
Buying a property in Spain. There are many reasons to purchase a property in Spain. The climate, the food, the culture, or simply to enjoy life. If you already see yourself buying the house of your dreams in the Mediterranean, it is important to be cautious and follow a series of steps. First, prepare a budget and take into account all the possible expenses. Remember to add transfer tax or VAT to the sale price, as well as legal fees, notary fees, and land registry fees. And even if it was love at first sight, do not rush or sign anything. The most important thing, especially if you're not yet a Spanish resident, is to hire an independent lawyer, a specialist who speaks your language and solely defends your interests. Together, you can review the characteristics of the house, should it have pending charges, negotiate a mortgage with the banks, and you will always be up to date throughout the whole process. But most importantly, fall in love with your property and do things by the book. Your new life starts there. Pellicer and Heredia, international lawyers.
Okay. Well, of course, apart from, of course, instructing an independent lawyer, it's important, extremely important also to instruct and find a special state agent in order to advise you and guide you in order to look for the correct property and area, as Mary has said. Okay, well, let's move on a different issue on the relocation services. And I've read today one of the statistics in one of the main magazines or newspapers in Spain, what says that Spain, it is right now the second country in the world where people would like to move. It's been done some questions in all around the world from a statistics company, and this says the first country is UK that wants to move into UK, and the second country is Spain. And what it says is because of the quality of life, the quality of the services, the quality of the hospitals, the security, and for that reason, of course, whenever wants to move into Spain, and it's something that needs to be checked about what the country gives to them before they move. But for moving into Spain, it is extremely important that you need to prevent and check and revise what is going to be your situation about applying for residency. So let's talk about residency, how to get residency, what implications have to be resident in Spain. And we will have some, I know there's starting to be a lot of questions. We will try to answer some of them and move on. Okay, well, Michael, let's give us a difference with when someone is resident and when someone is non-resident in Spain. Which is the difference, really?
Okay, well, it depends from what point of view, because from a tax point of view, we have always told our clients to be wary of becoming residents in Spain, because we all know that the tax implications of being a Spanish resident are quite complex and can be difficult to handle for those that have got still a lot of things going on in their home country. Okay, they're still in business, etc. If you're a resident in Spain, you have to declare your worldwide income in Spain, with all the complications that may bring with you. If you're a non-resident in Spain, then you simply file a 210 form every year declaring the hypothetical income on your rentals, and that's the end of the problem. As a resident, you've also got to declare all your worldwide assets on the 720 form each year. And in general, also, if you inherit and you're a resident, you have to declare what you're inheriting worldwide, while if you're a non-resident, you only declare what you receive here in Spain. We feel that a lot of people have jumped into becoming residents, and they're going to suffer the consequences of not consulting with a tax advisor before doing so. everyone's jumping in because they're worried about Brexit. And of course, that is a problem as well, or at least it's a problem that we don't know whether it's going to be a problem. So that's why people are jumping in. But what we would advise on this is that people, especially unless they're sort of retired and have no longer got assets in the UK, we would definitely recommend taking some proper legal advice from a lawyer or a tax advisor regarding the consequences of becoming a tax resident in Spain. We can see there's going to be a lot of problems with a lot of the people that have become residents.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Well, before we start with all the questions that we are receiving right now, I mean, of course, Mary asked about this newspaper that I have already said that is saying that Spain is the second country in the world that wants to people to think about the intention to relocate into Spain. Are you having during this COVID year having questions and people that would like to move into Spain and what do you recommend to them?
It's been very strange, I would say, that in this pandemic that things supposed to be frozen. I have a lot of people now inquiring about coming to live in Spain more than ever. In fact, our sales are, we are doing very well this month. We cannot complain. And I think it has had an effect where more than ever, people want to enjoy the weather, they have realized that they can actually work from home. I think people, like you said, like Michael said, just check your taxes. A lot of people can work from home. They can, but make sure you know where are you going to be paying your taxes, in Spain or in England. But that's something that we always advise them to check with a solicitor, with accounting. I am not an expert on that, but I can tell you that since middle of August, we've been having a lot of demand for people that wants to come and live here. And like before, we used to get more like people from UK, Belgium, Holland. Now I will say it has expanded more. We are getting more Americans. We are getting people from Asia, South America as well. So it has, I would say, I think in about 10, 15 years, Alicante it's already cosmopolitan, but it's going to become more cosmopolitan. It's going to be something really nice because it's very normal now here to see children speaking more than 2 languages. It's very normal now to see people that come here to live in paradise. So the attitude, the culture is really nice. No one is coming here to make money. I mean, some people do, but the idea is to come here, enjoy life, relax, take it easy, chill out. So I think in 10, 15 years, it's already nice now, but now with the next generation, I think La Costa Blanca, this Costa del Sol are going to be really nice areas to live, But saying that, this is making a lot of people is hoping for the property market to go down in price. Everybody's hoping for that, but we have so many people waiting and already so many people buying. Even Spaniards are buying a lot here. So I don't really think that's going to happen unless something major happens with the banks. But at the moment, some areas I think are going up in price as well. So Alicante is special. I think it has the climate. It has also their own housing market.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I have a special point of view about that because I'm also with the property market as a lawyer. And as much as people wait to be reduced the prices, less opportunity to find the proper property to them will have. And at the end, less good properties will be on the market because at the end, these properties are being sold. So as much as you wait in order to be reduced the prices, which in some ways, in some areas will be reduced in some percentage, less possibilities you have in order to find your dream property. Okay, well, let's go through the questions. Michael, let's go to this couple of questions about banks. One is from Chris. Thank you, Chris, for participating in the seminar. He said, hi, Spanish mortgages seems to be much more expensive than those in the UK. 3.95% rate from Caixa and from for example, from 1.95 from HSBC in the UK. Is that correct? Are the Spanish mortgages, the interest or the fixed interest rate or variable rate are more expensive than the UK?
Okay, well, in our case, we never do fixed mortgages. All our clients go for the variable, and at the moment, normally it's Euribor, the base rate plus 1.5 to 2%. That's what for non-residents. For residents, you can get them at base rate Euribor plus 1%. But for non-residents, we're seeing 1.5 to 2% as a differential. So at the moment, they start off by paying 2.5% at the moment.
Okay. Okay, another question from Jack. Thank you, Jack, for participating, and also for Caroline, also about banks, Michael. And Jack, he says that he's been trying to open a bank account in Spain, but the bank refused on the grounds that he wants to know the source of my money. He lives in Jordan, Jordania, and he's 67 years old, on the Middle Eastern national, retired with a pension of UK. So it looks like that the bank has refused to open a bank account. He is living in Jordania, in Jordan, and he's been refused. And also from Caroline, how do I open a bank account from UK? I thought I had to get my N.I.E number to open a bank account. Okay,
let's start with the last one. We reserve accounts for people without them coming to Spain. We open the account with the power of attorney. But some banks now do demand that sort of within a reasonable period of time, at some point that client goes into the branch and says hello, and so they can see who they are. And on a day-to-day basis, we constantly open up bank accounts. Clients purchase the property, and then sort of, if after 3 or 4 months the client has never appeared in the branch, they will call me from the branch and say, for money laundering compliance, when is my client going to come to Spain, just to go in and say hello. So we can still you can still open up an account without the client being here. You can open up an account without an N.I.E number, at least at most banks. We do, but it works similar to what we've just said. They do expect me to provide them with an N.I.E number within a reasonable period of time. So we open up the account so they can send the money for the completion, etc. And then we obtain the N.I.E number, etc. And we hand it in for compliance. Regarding the client that's resident in Jordan, this is sort of what we said before. Money laundering compliance now is a big issue, and makes us all, and it's a very time-consuming issue as well. I think, and probably in Costa Blanca you have this as well now. Before, you could open up an account without any documentation, just with an address, etc. Now the banks are held responsible for money laundering compliance if they don't do the minimum reasonable things to make sure they know who you are as a client. So it's the bank's privilege to choose if they want to open up an account for a client or not. They are perfectly entitled to say, this client, they're resident in Jordan, we don't understand his tax returns, we haven't seen that kind of, they're entitled to simply say, it's not worth it for us, the risk, the balance of risk and recompense for us to open up the account for them. We simply won't open the account. It's perfectly possible. It happens to quite a lot. For example, clients that are coming from Dubai and places like that, where they don't actually have tax returns, where they have to rely on the company for whom they work, preparing a certificate saying how much they earn and this sort of thing, especially for people that buying down in Marbella. Often the banks simply refuse to open up the account. In other words, if it's a company that they know, a Western company that's operating in Dubai, they like the certificate, they can sort of make a call and find out who all this, then they will open up the account. But they are allowed just to say no. So this person from Jordan, all they can do is try a couple of other banks to see if somebody else is more flexible. The thing is, the bank's prepared to spend more time at it if there's more money involved. But if somebody from Jordan is just going to send over 100,000 euro to a current account, and that's all they're going to do, that's a big risk for the bank with very little recompense. So they don't want to spend the time and going through money laundering compliance, checking and doing all these things.
Yeah,
Michael,
thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, but the person from Jordan was saying that he has a UK pension. If the money comes from the UK, they can open a bank account, right?
I mean, he's the one that's saying that they haven't opened up the account. If he was living in the UK and had a pension, he'll have P60s. So with P60s and English residents and nothing else, that would just be a normal situation in which there wouldn't be any problem. But he's already saying that they're not opening up the account, so there must be a bit more to it. I mean, if, for example, he's going to buy a property and he has €400,000 and he's got a pension of £2,000 a month, the bank may be saying, okay, where is the money coming from? And if he can't show that he sold the property, that he's made sufficient over all those years to accumulate that money, they don't understand it and they don't want to spend more time at working it out. So they just say, we won't open the account.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right, Michael. I mean, of course, I mean, what he says at the end, the grounds that the bank wants to know the source of my money. That is totally correct. Of course, this Money Laundering Act is compliant and is obligated for banks and also for lawyers. For Michael and myself, whenever we deal with a transaction, as a lawyers, we are obligated in order to know the origin of the funds and to look for this. And of course, the banks are the first filter in order to know if the money is going to enter in Spain, to check where the money comes from, and you need to show them where the money comes from and which is the origin of at the end of the funds that you want to transfer into Spanish. Okay, let's move on. But another question by Chris is on immigration issue. It's an immigration to Spain for a TIE application. Do I have to have a Spanish bank account in place for 3 months before I can apply? Well, I'll say what we do in Costa Blanca. Whenever someone right now, for example, someone comes today and we want to apply for residency tomorrow, of course, we need to get all the documents prepared. And we just made the application electronically by the computer with all the documents, of course, with a special and digital signature. And we will get a resolution, let's say between 1 and 2 weeks time, where do we have a positive answer or negative answer, but positive answer in case that, of course, we comply all the requirements. And we'll have to apply an appointment in order to make the fingerprints and get the TIE. But of course, it is important, one of the documents that needs to be presented into the immigration office is the bank, at least minimum 3 months bank statements. Needs to be done by a Spanish bank account 3 last months. Of course, it's preferable to have that, but when someone just entering Spain and wants to apply for residency will not be able to have that at all. And we have to show it's important to open a bank account whenever someone moves into Spain, but in order to show that document, we also have to be added those bank statements from the country that is coming. In this case, I think it's from UK. And should be answered by the immigration office in a favorable way. I'm not sure if in Costa Blanca, Michael, is the same, but at the end, it is these bank statements in order to prove, which is the minimum. And in Costa Blanca, the minimum is €9,000. Is an obligation, of course, to show that.
Yeah, here in Almeria and Malaga, it's the same. Okay.
Okay, well, let's move for the questions. And this one is for, is by, let's say, in Costa Blanca, but also I could answer, and maybe also Mary can answer. In Costa Blanca, how long does it take to get an NIE number? What does it entail and how much does it cost? Well, let's say what is really what is the NIE number, Michael, and then we will answer. The cost is, how do you apply for that, and then we will go with Mary in Costa Blanca.
The NIE number is it's just a tax number. It's just a tax number that allows you to operate with all the Spanish administration. It's just one single number that will basically, whatever transaction you do from there going forward, they will always identify you by that number on all documents to do with the tax office in Spain, also with your bank account, etc. Regarding the procedure and the cost, In our case, we don't handle NIE numbers or residencias unless it's part of a conveyance process or an inheritance process or litigation or something. But in general, people tend to charge, I think, anywhere between 100 and 200 euros plus VAT. In our case, as part of the conveyance process or inheritance process or whatever, we charge them 150 euro plus VAT for each NIE number, plus a 10 euro stamp duty. We also always inform the client that if they happen to live near the Spanish consulate in London, they can also go in and request it there, and it would cost 10 euro. But it does mean quite a few queues, as you probably know, and it doesn't always, it's not always as quick as doing it here. In Almeria and Malaga, the NIE numbers at the moment are taking 3 weeks. I don't know, in Costa Blanca, is it similar or?
Well, in my experience, of course, it takes around 2-3 weeks now to get an NI number. Of course, an NI number is it's extremely important. It's an obligation, I would say, to get it. And of course, in order to, if you want to buy a property with a tax number, in order to pay taxes of transfer tax, in order to inscribe the property into the land registry into your name, in order to open properly a bank account. So it's extremely important. It's a simple process, and the cost is about as you said, is between 100 euros, 200 euros. Maybe some solicitors also do it included all the price. Well, it depends.
Yes.
And in comparison. Mary, what is your experience with the NI number? Because of course, as you you recommend people to buy and sell properties. Whenever they buy property, they must have an NI number.
Yes, I just send them to the solicitors, to be honest. Who can do it, because it could be a really easy process, but it could be also very frustrating process. So I think it's better, I just said, go to a solicitor, make sure they assist you, because sometimes we hear it takes 3 months, sometimes we hear it takes 3 weeks. You know, of course, we always advise them, we always tell them, if you are in your own country, you can go to the embassy, you can do it, it's cheaper. But then again, it depends on everyone's, how far they live really from the embassy. To travel from point A to point B in England, it could be 80 euros plus a hotel and everything. You might as well get your solicitor or I don't know, someone who dedicates to this sort of things, you know.
Okay.
Just recommend someone for them to.
We always recommend. We think it's for us, it's not a money earner. It's almost a sort of a necessary evil that we sort of have to do as part of the process. And we think it's always. We always offer that you can do it at the consulate in the UK, because we feel otherwise they read it on the internet and think, you know, the solicitor's charging me 150 euro. But in reality, it's much easier for everyone if when they do the conveyance, they just tell the solicitor to do it, because it's all just part of the process. So you can make sure that it's done within the correct timeline to tie it up with the completion. And then also, if you try and do it yourself and something goes wrong, and then you can't complete on time, the consequences can be really bad. Well, if you leave it all with your solicitor, first, it won't go wrong because he'll just have it as a normal part of his process. But if something went wrong, at least you can just say, look, it's all your fault. You were going to do everything, and now you're not completing it. It's because you made a mistake. I just think it's we have had every now and again someone that has done it themselves at the consulate, then the consulate hasn't sent it to them on time, they've had to complain, nobody answers the phone at the consulate, so in the end we've had to complete without the NIE number, and then we haven't had the NIE number in time to pay the transfer tax, so we've had to pay a fine. And every time it's happened that way, it's been because the client has tried to request it themselves.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on for following questions. We have just a few minutes left. It's from Robert. Thank you, Robert, for asking us. He says that he's got a Dutch passport, but he's resident in the UK. He already have a NI number, and the question is, do I have to change that for a TIE? Well, let me answer that. Of course, he's resident in the UK. He has an NI number. It has nothing to do, the NI number, with the TIE. TIE is in case that he wants to become resident in Spain. Okay, and for that reason, I mean, NI number, hold NI number will be a tax number in case that Vince buys a property in Spain. I have a call right now. In case that in case that Vince wants to buy a property in Spain, but it's a tax number. It's nothing to do with the TIE. So unless Vince, unless you don't move into Spain, of course, they will not be able to apply for residency in Spain.
I think, Pedro,
Okay.
Pedro, I think that's an interesting point, and it's important to clarify it. There are a lot of people that are confusing the N.I.E number with the residencia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So basically, everyone that's bought a property or comes over to in Spain, that's been in Spain the last 20 years and owns a property, owns account, will have an N.I.E number, almost for certain. An N.I.E number has nothing to do with being a resident or how long you spend in Spain. It's just that whenever you come over to Spain to do any kind of transaction, you have to obtain the number that then lasts with you forever. So that's the N.I.E certificate that you obtained when you purchased the property. The residencia is either the A4 sheet, the green sheet, or the little thing that the size of a credit card with no photo on, with the green one. That's the residencia, and those are the two documents, the A4 or the credit card one. Size, those are the ones that you change for a TIE, but not the NIE number. If you go in with the NIE number, is just the residencia number is always based on your previous NIE number. So everyone that's got a residencia has got an NIE number, but not everyone that's got an NIE number has got a residencia number. A lot of people are confused about that.
Okay, well, let's move on. More questions. Well, we will not have to answer all of them, so I'm sorry about that. But let's go to another question from Nikolai. That he may intend, as an example, to buy a property in Barcelona. And is there any problem to have cita? I'm not sure what that means, but cita for NIE number. Cita, what do you mean? Provide cita, an appointment for NIE number before buying a property in Spain. Well, let's say it is. Are you able to buy a property without the NIE number, or do you need it for completion, or can you sign a reservation contract, or can you sign a private contract without the NIE number, and during the process of buying you apply for the NIE number?
Okay, in Almeria and Malaga, the first thing is we don't need an NIE number for a deposit contract. Okay, but in principle, we do need it for completion. There are ways around that for if necessary, but in principle, you need it for the completion. Now, in Almeria and Malaga, you cannot request the NIE number. I think this is his case. He's asking, he's got an appointment to go and request an NIE number, but he hasn't bought a property yet. Well, in Almeria or Malaga, he wouldn't be able to obtain the NIE number, because in Almeria or Malaga, we have to have some kind of element, some kind of document,
evidence,
why we need it. So the normal procedure is, if we're purchasing a property, we sign the deposit contract, and then we use the deposit contract to show to the NIE number people why we need the NIE number. If it's probate, we show them a certificate of last will and the death certificate to show that my client needs the NIE number to go to probate. So I don't know in Barcelona, but for example, in the consulate, when people ask for the NIE number at the consulate in London, they don't ask you for any documents. You can go in and request it, regardless of, they just ask you, what do you need it for? A purchase of a property. You don't show a document. But Almeria or Malaga, you have to show a document.
Here in Alicante.
So in Alicante, you do? So then,
yeah.
2 days to buy, right? So if he knows he's going to buy in 2 days, yes, he can make the booking for the appointment, right? He can start making the appointment. He knows he's going to come between Friday and Monday.
Yes. Yeah, but he'll need the deposit contract unless it's different up in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Okay. Latest question. Of course, we are run out of time. It's someone wants to move to Spain. Is driving over Spain with the intention to live in Guardamar permanently with the wife and son. So 3 of them. What he's asking is that he understands that each of them will need a minimum of 9,000 euros in a bank account, which should be no problem. However, have I left it too late for any numbers for my wife and son, and it's too late to start our residency application? What he's asking right now is, I assume is that if someone is moving to Spain right now, if it's late to start applying for any number and start applying for the residencia, which of course, as a British citizen, a British resident right now, so it's plenty of time right now. As I said, the applications, once you have all the documents, of course, to prove the sufficient money and enough money to live in Spain, as you said, is made electronically. We have an answer in, I would say, in 2 weeks, sometimes less and sometimes a little bit more now. And in the following ones, the resolution is favorable. You get the residency. Is just to apply for an appointment and make the fingerprints in order to get a TIE. The process is rapid, it's not complex, it's simple, but of course you need to follow the steps and to be duly instructed and guided by your solicitor or by your lawyer. And also he's asking about should they are gonna drive over from UK to Spain, and there is any organization to help with the registering of the vehicle. Of course, in this case, in Guardamar, of course, in this office, we do that. I'm going to give you an advice to do. I mean, it's extremely important if you're coming from UK that you have to inform, well, once you come and you inform about that you have moving to Spain, and you inform this into the UK consulate in Spain, you have 60 days, and it is extremely important. You have 60 days in order to have this car out of the circulation in the UK. It's like the special document that is given by the consulate. It's extremely important, but in order, if you don't have that in 60 days from when you move, in order to bring the car here will be a tax of, like saying, like import tax, which could arise from 4.75% to 16%. So let's put an example of a value car of 10,000 euros will possibly be able to be taxed around 1,600 euros. It's going to depend on the CO2 that this car has, but extremely important that you inform the authorities in UK or the UK consulate to get a document that is already out of the circulation in the UK, is moved into Spain, and that document in order to avoid a tax payment, in order to be exempt. Okay, well, having said that, there is no more time to answer any question. Well, thank you all the participants. Thank you everyone who has made a question to us. Apologize for not being able to answer all of them. I will take into account ones have not been answered, and I will try to answer them by email if possible, if we have the email, of course. And well, just a brief conclusion for both of you. Michael, what would you, in general words, what would you recommend to someone to before moving to Spain?
I don't know. My parents moved to Spain when I was 3 years old. They made the right decision. I'm very happy, and I wouldn't move back to the UK. I don't know. It's a lovely country. I think Andalusia is the best place in Spain. And I think, well, there's a big, I would say is that there's a big variety in Spain. In other words, people just think about Spain as sort of just one place. But there is a bit, there are different places of Spain that will suit different people. So I think it's important to travel around and view all the regions. I mean, even within each region, places are completely different. I mean, today I'm in the office here in Oaxaca, which is in Almeria, and this is completely different, absolutely different to to Marbella, where we have another office down in Malaga. The type of clients is completely different, and the clients from Marbella probably wouldn't like this area, and vice versa. So I think one has to sort of travel around and see what they like.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And Mary, just in 1 minute, what would you recommend in general words to someone who wants to move into Spain? Just a conclusion.
A very nice city, very nice culture, but be also prepared for deception. I'm going to be honest, okay? There are excellent things here, but everybody comes here with this big dream, and I said you are in a different country. As you know, I have lived in America, I have lived in Mexico, Peru, UK, and something I always say, don't compare one country with another one, okay? When I was in England, this is not like this, and here is no. When I was in Switzerland, forget about it, you start from zero, okay? Nothing that you program that you have in your brain how to do things, start from zero, and you will have a good time.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mariero. Thank you very much, Michael, Davies. It's been a pleasure to join this seminar with both of you. It's been very informative, I think, and we deal with many subjects, even though in 1 hour time is not a lot of time in order to discuss. But of course, we invite everyone who has been listening to us in order to make more questions into our website and send us emails, also to Mary, of course, to on the website of your website, Mary, is 𝐏𝐸 Boutique Property.
𝐏𝐸 Property Boutique.
𝐏𝐸 Property.
𝐏𝐸 Alicante. I will be there.
Okay, that's fantastic. And also, you can contact Michael Davies, which is daviessolicitors.com. Is that right, Michael?
Yep, daviessolicitors.com. Our offices are in Andalusia. We're in Oaxaca, Almeria, and in Marbella.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, perfect. We've said in the chat the website if anyone wants to enter in the Mary Arrow website, and also in the Michael Davies website. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for joining us today, and hopefully joining us in the following seminars. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Good evening.
Bye-bye.